Well, Professor Edward Blakely is a former White House staffer for both Republican and Democratic presidents. He now joins us in the studio. Always good having you here to chat with us. Now, so we've seen the Trump administration, and they seem to be quite surprised by the backlash from the dismissal of James Comey. Is this an administration that's out of touch with the political sphere?
Well, let me just give you some idea of how the White House works. When something like this is going to happen, there's a lot of internal consultation. At the conclusion of that consultation, something called guidance is developed. That guidance goes back through the East and West wings, back through the administrations across. So when the president speaks, all the secretaries, all the people in the administration know what he's going to say, not just in general terms, but specifically. The reason for this is anyone can be called. And if they say something different from what was said, it means the administration is unraveling. In this case, not everyone even in the same building knew what was going on. And even the people who were commenting, who were supposed to be the spokespersons, said different things. This means that the president is acting much like kind of a maverick. He's making decisions. He may consult with some people, but he hasn't gone through the process of making this a presidential decision. And even the wording, I made this decision. Can you imagine Obama saying that? He would have said, we consulted widely. The American people are at risk here. And after considerable internal and external consultation, we made a decision.
This is all part of Donald Trump really putting himself out as the strong man. Perhaps he's trying to differentiate himself from other presidents that came before him. He did say that he wanted to drain the swamp. He wanted to do things differently. Is it working out, though?
Well, I don't know, but he's certainly different from the other 44. He's the 45th. And so the other four took the job as being president, not as my job, but our job. Whether that is the right or wrong thing to do, I can't judge because I've only known some of the others. And the general feeling, though, you were working for the United States, not for yourself. For example...
But this is a man who's never held public office. He's a real estate mogul. He's a celebrity star. He's a reality TV star. So he wants to shake things up. Is the White House, perhaps Washington, not used to being shaken up?
Well, shake up is a little different from mess up. Ronald Reagan certainly shook the place up, and he transformed it. So did Richard Nixon, but we won't go there. But Ronald Reagan was a revolutionary president and moved the entire bureaucracy. And he moved it by being eloquent, by being really clear with his message, and having the temperament so wins and losses weren't the game, the American people were the game. And you could feel that coming through. So this is not a personal job. This is a collective responsibility, as our Prime Minister does it, and the Prime Ministers that preceded him. These are not personal things, toys. They're really important responsibilities.
Donald Trump doesn't seem to be conferring with his own Republican Party as well when he makes these decisions. And yet they are still sitting on the sidelines watching him foil from one foible to another to another. What would it take for them to, I suppose, point the finger at him and say, you're fired?
Well, it's happened before. Remember when, well, I shouldn't say remember, other presidents have reached the impeachment stage because they didn't bring people along. And it started after Abraham Lincoln died, then Clinton, after Nixon. So there is a possibility of not taking your own party along at your peril. And it can lead to a situation where you can't get any legislation through. You are, in fact, a lame duck. I left the Nixon administration when it was a dead duck, when things could not be done and there was a paralysis. So we have to be careful here that the president doesn't paralyze the institutions he's trying to govern.
Does he realize this? Is this a president that would realize that this is actually happening within his own administration?
I don't know. Clearly, I'm not a psychoanalyst, and I'm not really a person who can analyze how a person reacts to things. But it appears, as you said earlier, he's reacting as a person who has a job. He's the head of a corporation. This corporation is called the United States. And as head of that corporation, I can reach decisions. But even in a corporation, you need to consult with your board of directors. That's the Congress. If you get too far out in step with them, then you have some reactions. The other problem here is, what is a violation of the law for him? He said that he spoke 3 times to the head of the FBI about whether he was involved in this. That is a violation of the law. You cannot tamper with an ongoing investigation when you're President of the United States. That could be considered even an impeachable offense.
It does seem that he can't seem to separate Donald Trump, the businessman, from being Donald Trump, the president. I don't think he doesn't seem to still have that grasp of the fact that he is a president and presidential, and therefore is in charge of a nation rather than just an
But he does have an
organization.
attorney general. And the attorney general has to deliver bad news. And that bad news could be that you've stepped over the line here. So the attorney general works for the American people. The attorney general is not the president's attorney. The attorney general is the attorney general of the United States. So, in fact, the attorney general has to give that kind of advice.
I want to talk about his supporters. What is the feeling amongst his support base now that he is president, now that he said that he has wanted to drain the swamp? He hasn't been able to. He's tried to get several legislations through. He hasn't been able to. He's introduced Trump Care. There's been a lot of backlash. And, of course, the allegations with the Russian links. What is the feeling amongst his support base?
They're strong. They are still very strongly behind
Why is
him.
that?
Well, I think for a couple of reasons. One of them is the path was not a path they preferred. They want another path. It's not so much that he succeeded or failed. He is shaking the place up, as you said. And maybe that shake-up will not end up with him in charge, but it'll replace some of the directions of the nation. There are 3 directions people are concerned about. One direction is it seems to be drifting away from those hard-working people, their influence on the government. The second is, where is my child and my grandchild going to be in the future? Concern about that. And the third is, for the very first time, there's genuine, deep racial divide. And these things are all playing out. So a strong leader appeals to some people in those circumstances. It certainly did in Germany in 1928 or 29. It may be an appeal in the United States now. Let's hope not. I think there are good people, particularly in the Senate, who can see these scenarios and will want to right in the ship. We want Donald Trump to succeed for all of America and for the world. He's been very strong in defense issues. He has some good characteristics. Now he has to put those with being a president and act accordingly.
EdBlakely, it's always great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.